What's up guys, this is Ashish Tiwai here and you are watching Techno Tips Angular 4 tutorial. So this is my second tutorial. In this tutorial I'll be discussing about Angular 4 project structure, where I'll cover all folders and files which are being used by our application. Okay, so before proceeding with this video, you can watch my previous tutorial, that is part 1 of this video series. In that video I have explained the complete installation process of Node.js and Angular CLI, and using Angular CLI I have created my first application, which is something called Techno Tips. Okay, so here you can see several folders and files which are dynamically created by Angular CLI command. Okay, so let's come to the root folder. So here I have E2E, node modules, then source folder, and then these files. Inside my source folder I have app, assets, and environment folder, and then these files. And in app folder I have my app module and then app component. Okay, so I'll cover each and everything in detail, so let's get started. So in my root folder you can see the first folder is E2E. So here E2E stands for end to end. Okay, so this folder consists spec file and some configuration files, which is used for end-to-end testing of the application using Productor. Okay, so if you want to get started with the end-to-end testing, then you can visit the productortest.org, and here you can find the setup guide, and then how to write your test. And then these tests are written in in Jasmine, and then how to set your configuration, and how to start your Selenium server, and how to run your test. You can just go through the guide to complete the end-to-end testing. Okay, so the second folder is node modules. It consists all the third-party libraries, okay, on which our application may depends upon. And then we have our source folder, which is very important, and inside this all folder all the all the necessary files are present here. Like we have app folder, then assets, then environment. Okay, and then we have favicon and index, main, polyfills, and style test, and then these. Okay, now we have Angular CLI JSON. Okay, so this is standard configuration file for Angular CLI. And then we have editor config. Okay, and then we have one karma.config configuration files, which the karma is the JavaScript test runner, so it is used for testing purpose. Okay, then we have package.json file, which is very important. It just consists the reference of all the libraries which are which are used by our application. Okay, and then we have protector.config, again, which is used for end-to-end testing. And then we have TypeScript configuration file, and then we have tslint. And then here you can see inside this this source folder we have app folder. Inside the app folder you will find one module and one root component, and then with the root component this root component associated with this HTML and then CSS, and you can find this spec file which is for unit testing and written in Jasmine. And then we have assets folder. So your application assets will go here. So like you can place your images, icon, and text file. Inside the environment environment folder you can keep the configuration settings for different environment. Okay, and I hope you know about the favicon. It is just displayed on the browser tab. And then you have your application start HTML file, which is index.html. Okay, and this is the main .ts file, which is very important. Okay, so it is also called the entry point of your application. Like in other language there is a main method, so that's why here is also the main it has also a main method to bootstrap the app component, the first module and the app module of the application. and then app module will load the app component, root, that is the root component. Okay, so then we have polyfills file. So this file just used to you know it used to set up the compatibility between your application and your browser. Like some browser doesn't compatible with the latest version of JavaScript, so it just include some necessary JavaScript. It just import just necessary JavaScript files, which just maintain the compatibility between your IE browser and the application. Okay, and then you have your styles.css, which is the global style sheet and can be accessible through your can be accessible by your all components. Then this is also for test purpose. Then you another type configuration file, then type configuration for testing, and then we have your type.ts. Then in app folder you have one module, so every application must have one module. Okay, and then it has root component. So here you can see in the app component.ts file you just write your actual code, and this this app.component.html file is associated with this component. Okay, and the app component.spec file is for unit testing file and written in Jasmine, and then we have one CSS file. Okay, so this is part of these four files are the part of the root component. Okay, so let's open up the Visual Studio Code, and here you can see E2E. Okay, so in the E2E folder you can see one spec.ts file. So here the code are written into the Jasmine. Here you can see different method like describe and it. Okay, and then we have one ts and then config file. So if you want to do end-to-end testing, I already have suggested you to visit protectortest.org, and then you can see your third-party libraries, and then you have your source. Okay, inside this source folder I can see my app folder where I can find my the app module. Okay, and in app module there is here we have just imported the root component, that is app component, and here you can see the app component. Here you can write your actual code, and inside this we have used the @, which is called the decorator, and here we have the selector, that is app root, and app root is defined in the HTML page. Here you can see, so this is our start HTML page. Okay, so first it will be loaded, and you can see it. If you compare it with MVC, then you can just consider it as here layout, and this app root you can consider it as render. You can render your other component, means other you can see you can render your partial view here. Okay, so this is something like that. You can just compare it. So you have just defined the selector here, and then the template URL. So instead of URL you can just return the custom tag, like if you want to return anchor like this. Okay, so you can also return it, but at that time you just need to use it instead of using the template URL, you just use template only. Okay, so the template is coming from this app.component.html, which is defined here, and here you can see we have just used this dynamic variable, which is title. It is included into double curly braces, which is called string interpolation. So here we are just setting the title, and here we are just using this title. Okay, and this file is used for this is the local style sheet which can be accessible by this component, and this one is your spec.ts. It is the testing, it is used for the unit testing, and it is written in the Jasmine, as I already have told you. Okay, so here we have seen the fab icon, and then here in the environment folder you can see this is the configuration file for different environment. Like production, we have production true, and here you will see production false. Okay, so favicon, and then we have discussed the index.html, then we have the main.ts file, and here you will see bootstrap modules. So it is the entry point. This is also called the entry point of the application, where it is just loading the app module, and app module is present in the app folder. Here you can see app folder, and in the app folder where we are using this bootstrap, so it is just loading this app component, which is the root component. And here our root component, here you can see, and in the root component we are just selecting the selector which is defined in the index.html, and we are actually rendering the template into this app root component, sorry, in the app root tag. Okay, so this HTML will be rendered to app root tag, which is defined in HTML. Okay, so that's why you can see your output here. Just go there, this output. So all the code are defined in the here HTML. If I delete this, let's say just delete it and save it, so you can see, sorry, might just save it. Okay, so all the image links has gone. Now app folder I have covered, index, then polyfills. Okay, as I already told you that it's just used for maintaining the compatibility between your application and some browser like IE, i9 and i10. So it includes the several JavaScripts to maintain the compatibility. Okay, because your code is written into TypeScript, and your TypeScript compiler just compile it into the latest version of JavaScript, which may not be compatible with your browser. Okay, so to make it compatible, you can use polyfills. Then you have your style.cs, which is the global style sheet. You can which can be accessible to all your app component, all your components. In future we will just create our own component, like several sub component, and that can also use the main this main style.cs, this global style.cs file. Okay, this test.cts file is just for testing purpose. And then we have tsconfig, TypeScript config. Okay, so this is the standard configuration for your TypeScript. Okay, so on the basis of that, your compiler just compile your TypeScript code and convert into the into JavaScript. Okay, so second, this is for, again, this is spec.json, TypeScript configuration for testing. And then we have type.t.ts. This is we here only the interface has been defined, that is node module. Okay, now here you have we have Angular CLI.json, which is the configuration standard configuration file for Angular CLI. So here we are just telling some where our application should find the files. Okay, so my root folder would be source. Okay, and out directory will be dist. Okay, whenever you compile your code, then all your libraries are get into the bundle and put into this folder. Okay, whenever you build your application at that time. This folder will be dynamically generated and all files will go here. And then what would be your assets folder and favicon here, and what would be your start page, that is index.html. Then main.ts is your entry point, then polyfill path, test config, test ts, all the main path has been defined into the Angular CLI JSON. Okay, then we have editor config. Okay, so if you are working with team, then make sure that all team members should use the same configuration. Okay, and the second thing is the git ignore. It is for git repository. And then we have karma config. Karma is the JavaScript test runner, so it is also used for the testing. Okay, then we have package log JSON, and then we have package.json file. This is very important. So here you can see we have some basic settings like name and version, and then we have dependencies. So here you can find the we have several different Angular dependencies. So this is the reference to the Angular libraries, okay, on which your application is dependent. Okay, then down here you can find your dev dependency. So here all the here we have just used the reference of all the libraries which is used only for the dev purpose. Okay, it is not be usable in the production environment. Okay, so so here you can see Angular/CLI, we already have discussed, and then we have Angular compiler CLI, then language service, then Jasmine. Okay, and here you can see code analyzer. We will discuss it later. And then we have our testing reference, testing libraries reference here, which is the karma. Now move to the productor.config. Again, it is used for end-to-end testing. And then we have your ts config file. Okay, so this again I already have discussed in this module. This source folder, you will find one ts.app.json file, and here we have ts.json config file. So this is the configuration file for your TypeScript. So your TypeScript compiler going to compile your code into the targeted JavaScript version, which is ES5. Okay, so you may have previous version ES4, ES3. Okay, and then we have type roots defined in the node modules, and this is the basic settings of TypeScript. This is used for the TypeScript configuration. And then we have tslint. Okay, so this is something test analyzing code analyzing tool. Here you can see the rule directory is present into the node modules / code analyzer. Okay, and here we have some certain rules to check our code, TypeScript code. So I think this is all about our project structure. So hope you understood this. Now let me discuss the flow again. So hope it is visible to you. So here is your Angular CLI.json, where you have just mentioned main. What would be your entry point? So your main.ts. When you go to your main.ts, you will find the bootstrap module, and bootstrap module method is just used to load this app module. We are passing here app module. So app module will be loaded, and in the app module we have the app component. It should be bootstrapped. Okay, here the bootstrap means it loading the app component, not it don't relate it with the tutor bootstrap. Okay, app component, and then here we have app component. In app component the actual code is written, and here you can see the class where I have just set the title Technotips tutorial, and here in the inside of this decorator we have selector. Selector is your app root, which is defined in your index.html app root, and then we are just rendering the template. Okay, if you want to render the inline template, so use template, or if you have some another HTML file, then use template URL. Okay, so template URL is your app component HTML. So in the app component.html we have just defined welcome to in interpolation, string interpolation bracket, we have title. We are using this title. Okay, so our HTML page is ready now, and the second thing is the selector. So it will be rendered to the targeted app root element. It is defined in the index. So this HTML will go to inside this app root folder, app root tag. Okay, so this is the basic flow of your application. This is very easy. Once we will start doing coding, then you will understand each and everything in detail. Okay, so I hope you understood the project structure of the Angular 4 project. Okay, so here you can see again we have this folder, and then app, and then in app we have app module, and then this root component, and then this HTML will be loaded into this index.html, and here is our main.ts, which will load this app module, and app module will load this app component, and app component will render this HTML to this index. That is how our application flowing. And here we already have discussed all the files and folder. So let's you can read this, you can take the screenshot of this description, and you can understand if you want it later. Okay, so hope you understood this concept, and that's enough for today. And if you like this video, then give a thumbs up, and please don't forget to share this video among your friends, and have a great day. Bye bye.